Mid to high 20s are very likely for many of us as we head towards the end of the week.
Expect a warm front, moving from the kitchen right through to the rest of the house. Boxed boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Courtesy of Marquis Leisure, you could be driving away with this brand new Elnag Baron 560 motorhome. It comfortably sleeps 4, comes with sky roof, integrated kitchen and bathroom, and is worth over £67,000. And that's not all, as we'll also give you a further £5,000 in tax-free cash to make sure that wherever this motorhome takes you, it takes you there in style. For another chance to win the lot, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB13 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 6th of June. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m. weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
On Thursday, the 1st of May, voters across England go to the polls.
In a series of council elections.
Mayoral elections and one crucial by-election.
They'll vote on the local issues that matter to them and let the parties know where they stand.
We'll be here throughout the night.
Live around the country.
As the first results come in.
And from 6 a.m. on Friday morning, as it all becomes clearer, we'll be here to discuss what it means for you.
Vote 2025, the people decide, from 11 p.m. on Thursday.
Only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently.
It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it?
It's explosive.
I mean, this is very good.
It's lively.
850. Your government sat there short and it did nothing.
It's controversial.
And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born.
It's everything you need to kickstart your evening.
Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it.
That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
What is the state of our economy? What is the state of our National Health Service? What is the state of our schools?
What on earth is going on?
Understanding Britain means understanding the state we are in. This is State of the Nation with me, Matt Goodwin, Wednesdays, Thursdays and Fridays from 8 p.m. on GB News.
It's 9 p.m. I'm Ben Leo tonight.
And that's why Bill Gates is now backing something called sun-dimming technology that would reflect sunlight out of the Earth's atmosphere, causing global cooling.
Conspiracy, but now the UK government is funding a crazy scheme to block the sun from shining in Britain. Yes, you heard that right. A plan dubbed a crime against humanity by one of Donald Trump's cabinet. Bill Gates funded it in the US, of course, and now it's coming to Britain. Oh, and it's costing taxpayers, you at home, £50 million, all in the name of climate change. Also coming up on the show tonight. Athletes trained for years for their big day at the London Marathon today, only for it to be ruined by pro-Palestine losers. So, is it time to get tough on this new generation of professional renter mobs? And
you believe in that Islam, that be chopping off hands? Yeah, I do. I think it's better than what you believe in.
So this month, a French philosopher was banned from the UK to prevent him from endangering the public. So why was that Islamist nutter, who condones chopping off hands, allowed to tour British mosques? And
how did Britain...
Yeah, it's Britain the lucky.
Britain's lucky?
Yeah, they are.
How did Britain survive before mass immigration?
As a top Tory donor defects to Reform UK and Nigel Farage calls for a Minister of Deportations, I went to one of the most ethnic streets in Britain to get public thoughts on kicking out illegal migrants. Meanwhile, bloodshed in Vancouver as 11 people are now confirmed dead after an attacker rammed a car into crowds of people. We'll be live in Canada for the latest. And courage and bravery personified. The defiant father of one of the Southport babies successfully completes the London Marathon. Joining me on the panel tonight is publican and activist Adam Brooks, political commentator Chloe Dobbs and the former Labour Minister Bill Rammell. And with wedding season almost in full swing, what do you reckon happened next?
Can you get off the stage, please?
Big show coming up, including the first of tomorrow's newspaper front pages hot off the press. First, though, let's get your news headlines with Sam Francis.
The top story this hour, Canada's Prime Minister says the shocking attack in Vancouver has left now 9 dead and confirmed more than 20 remain injured. Police are calling it a car ramming attack after an SUV tore through a packed Filipino street festival. Witnesses described seeing bodies scattered along the road as the driver sped straight into the crowd. The 30-year-old suspect, known to police, is now in custody, with no signs, they say, of a wider threat. Mark Carney says investigators are still working to understand how and why it happened. Meanwhile, here in Leeds, counter-terror police are investigating a dramatic armed attack after 2 women were injured with a crossbow and a firearm. It happened in broad daylight, and police say they found a 38-year-old man with self-inflicted wounds, arresting him at the scene. All 3 were taken to hospital with injuries not thought to be life-threatening. Both weapons were recovered, with officers now trying to find out what the motive was. Home Secretary Yvette Cooper called it a serious and violent incident. In other news, the government says there'll be no toilet police enforcing new gender rules, but that it will have to change practices after a landmark Supreme Court ruling. The court found that the word woman and sex in the Equality Act refer to biological definitions, meaning trans women can be excluded from women-only spaces. New guidance says toilets, changing rooms and sports clubs, among others, can be restricted by biological sex, but the transgender people must not be left without access. Counter-terrorism police are assessing videos of Northern Irish rap group Kneecap. That's after clips appeared to show the trio calling fans to kill their local MP and support banned terror groups Hamas and Hezbollah. The footage from gigs in 2023 and 24 is now being reviewed by the Met's counter-terrorism unit. It comes as the band was dropped by its US sponsor following Sharon Osbourne's call to revoke their American work visa. Kneecap's visas are now believed to be invalid ahead of their sold-out US tour in October. The band, though, claims they're victims of a smear campaign and have received death threats since Coachella. 1 in 3 people in the UK say money worries are keeping them awake at night. Nearly half of those surveyed are getting less than 6 hours sleep, and when tired, the spending starts. 1 in 5 admit to impulse buys when sleep deprived, with some checking their bank balance or credit score in the dead of night. Over 1 million Credit Karma users logged in between midnight and 6 a.m. in the past 6 months. They say when we're tired, it's easy to let spending slip, and are urging people to set limits and steer clear of late-night money apps. And 2 pro-Palestine protesters have been arrested today after red powder paint was thrown on Tower Bridge during the London Marathon. It happened as the men's elite race crossed the bridge around 10:30 this morning, with 2 demonstrators from Youth Demand calling on the UK to stop arming Israel. The pair, though, were quickly removed by staff and police. Race organisers say the event wasn't impacted. Well, Ethiopia's Tigst Sefa set a new women's world record to win the race, speeding through in 2 hours and 15 minutes and 50 seconds, while Kenya's Sebastian Sawe won the men's race on his London debut, crossing the line in 2 hours, 2 minutes and 27 seconds. And for the thousands tackling today's marathon, it was a scene of sunshine and highs of 22 degrees all the way along the course, and we're set to feel the heat right into the rest of this week. Forecasters are warning of a naturally warm spell. Temperatures could soar to 27 degrees by midweek, especially in London and East Anglia, peaking on Wednesday and Thursday. But a cold front is still creeping in, and forecasters say it could just clip temperatures before a full-blown heat wave takes hold. That's the news on GB News. Plenty more still to come right here. Don't go anywhere.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Good evening to you. Thank you for your company. I hope you enjoyed the glorious sunshine we had today and indeed are excited for the so-called heat wave next week. I know I am. Because sunshine is a beautiful thing, isn't it? I call it the closest physical manifestation we have to God, whatever or whoever God is. It's literally life force, God energy, that allows flowers to flourish and powerful trees to grow. It allows us to grow food. It heals and nourishes our bodies and makes pub beer gardens that much sweeter too. So ask yourself then, why would anyone ever want to block out the sun deliberately? What kind of person would want to do that kind of thing? Well, if you ever needed proof that we're led by dangerous, incompetent weirdos, that's what they're planning to do now, here in the UK. British scientists are launching a £40 million government-funded geoengineering experiment to literally test dimming the sun in the name of solving climate change. The government's Advanced Research and Invention Agency, or ARIA, aims to block sunlight reaching the Earth's surface with projects that include spraying aerosols in the atmosphere to make clouds brighter, which will then reflect sunshine. What could go wrong? If successful, ARIA thinks the plan could temporarily reduce surface temperatures, which would then give humans more time to reduce carbon emissions before climate change sends us all to hell. Aerosols would be sprayed into the atmosphere using boats or aeroplanes, which is interestingly a similar process to the one parroted by so-called conspiracy theorists who have been complaining for years about what they call chemtrails in our skies, like these on your screen now. Ah, those pesky conspiracy theorists again. Anyway, leading scientists are now raising the alarm on British plans to block the sun. Raymond Pierre Humbert, a professor of planetary physics at the University of Oxford, said this month that the UK's gamble on solar geoengineering is like using aspirin for cancer. Calling the project barking mad, he went on, since 2021 commentary from ourselves, the situation has grown far worse, with tens of millions of dollars pouring into the scheme, mostly from private donors. Bill Gates was an early backer, and the tech and fintech industries have piled on since. But we never imagined that the UK government itself would be leading the charge into what is almost universally recognised as the most dangerous and destabilising source of research. Field trials that risk developing dangerous technology and paving the way for deployment. Did you catch the name there? Bill Gates. I know many people watching this now will be rolling their eyes at the mention of the Microsoft billionaire once again, but it is an indisputable fact that Gates does have his hands in many controversial cookie jars. This was Tucker Carlson in the US some years ago, raising the alarm on America's own geoengineering madness.
And that's why Bill Gates is now backing something called sun-dimming technology that would reflect sunlight out of the Earth's atmosphere, causing global cooling.
Bill Gates is backing the first high-altitude experiment of one radical climate change solution, creating a massive chemical cloud that could cool the Earth. It's called solar geoengineering, and it's highly controversial. It would look something like this. Thousands of planes would fly very high and use nozzles to inject millions of tons of light-reflecting particles into the stratosphere. It would create a thin chemical cloud of those particles around the whole planet, blocking some sunlight from reaching the surface.
All right, so what do we know about ARIA, the whack job public body that wants to block British sunshine? Well, Michael E. Mann, who is the Presidential Distinguished Professor at the University of Pennsylvania, wrote in The Guardian last month, ARIA, with an initial budget of £800 million, arose from the fevered dreams of Dominic Cummings at the height of the Boris Johnson crony capitalism years. After a rocky start for the office, Cummings' legacy lives on in the current Labour government, which seems to have lost track of what ARIA is doing. ARIA, a wannabe clone of the US Defence Advanced Projects Agency, works in darkness. It's not subject to freedom of information requests. It gives a pot of money to each of its directors to direct expenditure largely as they wish, with only minimal peer review. The director in charge of the solar geoengineering project is Mark Symes, an electrochemist with no background in climate science. Very good. Well, that fills you with confidence, doesn't it? An ARIA's thesis document online, which you can go and find yourself, is titled Exploring Options for Cooling the Earth. It's been described as chilling, outlining how the project is going all in on the supposed need for sunblocking field trials without making the case for what could happen if this was fully deployed all over the world. What would happen to crops, to farms, to rainfall and food supplies? What would happen if the technology got into the wrong hands? In America, British plans to block the sun have even caught the attention of Donald Trump's White House. Robert F. Kennedy Jr., the US Secretary of Health and Human Services, tweeted just a few days ago, "We'll soon end this crime against humanity and our planet and bring justice to the plutocrats who are perpetuating this mass uncontrolled experiment." Meanwhile, the aforementioned Professor Mark Symes, who's leading the ARIA programme in the UK, said the looming threat of climate tipping points was a strong reason to research solar geoengineering. He added, "Having spoken to hundreds of researchers, we concluded that a critical missing part of our understanding was real-world physical data. These would show us whether any of these potential approaches would actually work and what their effects might be." But I'm sorry, I'm just going to say tonight outright, I just can't go along with that train of thought. This looks and sounds like a totally anti-human, anti-nature idea that would spark God knows what consequences for humans, the animal kingdom, and indeed Mother Nature. And it should be consigned to the dustbin of history. Well, I'm joined now by climate researcher Paul Burgess, who joins me live down the line. Paul, good evening. Thank you for your company. What's your thoughts on what I just said there, and indeed the wider project of solar geoengineering?
Right. Well, what you just said there in summary, I totally agree with the ethnic aspect and so on. But just looking at the science, I'd like to make 3 points. Number one, it's not needed. We're not suffering from excess heat waves. For example, in 2011, we had a heat wave that would just drown it out today as regards heat. It began in early July. This is over 100 years ago. It didn't let up until mid-September. And even in September, it was 33 degrees, and it was 36 degrees in July, August. Massive, and that was over over a large part of the world, America. In Paris, they lost 40,000 people in that heat wave. So if you look back historically, the heat waves are far worse. So this is all imagination to begin with, right? And the next thing is, I did some scoping today on it, and I actually started to do some simple calcs on it. Now, what's scoping? It's looking at how reasonable the project is, yes? So I asked for the area around the UK. I worked out for the area around the UK, and you couldn't cool by more than half a degree, by the way. There's no limit to, there's no way we can do more than half a degree. What would that require? Well, if we modified 6,120 jumbo jets, yes?
Yep.
And we had flying at 20, 30,000 feet in the cirrus, yes? Then that would, each one would use 50 tons of fuel each day, right? That is a third of 1 million tons of fuel each day into the air, which, by the way, would have a more negative effect on the alarmist CO2 to begin with. So you're worse off to begin with, right? But then that would cost between 3 to 5 trillion pounds a year to operate. And that doesn't count having to cover the whole of the UK and airports to do it. And now the big problem there is you're injecting it high into the atmosphere, into the jet stream. The jet stream, typical speed, 150 miles an hour. So whatever you do to cool the UK is going to end up in Western Russia. And they won't be too happy about you cooling it by half a degree, right? So it's ludicrous. On any proper scientist, any proper technologist would know this is ludicrous.
So, Paul, why are we doing it then? Why are we spending £50 million of taxpayer money doing this when not all, but lots of leading scientists say it's absolute nonsense?
Well, we're doing it because we have a government just completely besotted into a cult called net zero. We have to stop net zero. I wear a badge here. I love CO2. I want to see more of it. And that is the real science, actually. And everything I do, I've got over 200 videos on this. And everything I do is backed by the science and the evidence I give. Everything I do on it. And so why? Well, why has the world gone mad? We've had lots of mad things before. We've had really stupid things in the past, which we know now or stupid. But there's no, I mean, I know a number of scientists. No one thinks this is sensible. No one.
Yeah.
But to waste £50 million with a university professor who hasn't a clue what he's doing is absurd. And it is dangerous, by the way. It is dangerous because we don't understand the jet stream. We do not understand clouds even. We haven't got the science behind clouds yet, right yet. And so to do it is ridiculous.
Okay.
And all you're going to hear against this, what I've said, is appeals to authority where people say they know better because they know more. That gets you nowhere in science. Or consensus. Consensus is a political thing, not a scientific
All right, Paul. Paul, thank you very much for your expertise and your company. Really appreciate it. Climate researcher Paul Burgess. Yeah, it just seems to me like people just want to play God. We want to literally modify the weather in the name of net zero. Well, let's get the thoughts of my panel now. Businessman and activist Adam Brooks, political commentator Chloe Dobbs and the former Labour Minister Bill Rammell. Good evening to you all. Welcome along. Hope you enjoyed the sun today. Make the most of it because it's been blocked out, apparently. Bill, what do you make of this? Had you heard of this project before? Labour have been accused of kind of leaving ARIA, this government public body, to their own devices with 50 million quid's worth of money. What's your thoughts on it all?
Well, as you know, I've just spent 3 hours in a car trying to get to the studio, so I'm not thinking desperately straight. I've not heard of it, but I do know this. Scientific progress would never have been made if at every juncture there was an outcry and it was opposed. My understanding of this is it's small-scale trials to test the efficacy of the science to see whether what is called geoengineering can make a contribution scientifically to tackling climate change. There are no toxic substances involved. There'll be environmental impact assessments, and people in the localities where it takes place will be consulted. If, and it's a big if, it then proves its efficacy, there would then have to be further major large-scale consultation, evaluation, rigorous scrutiny. So we're way away from some of the doomsday scenario that was being projected there.
OK, Chloe, any thoughts?
I'm up for experimenting with things, but it sounds like this ARIA company is not really to be trusted.
They're not even a company, sorry, just to correct you, they're a public body funded by you and me and people at home.
So this public body, I mean, Bill, you've said there needs to be huge scrutiny, but according to, I mean, this was in The Guardian that there's huge outcry about this, and I think that's quite telling that a paper like The Guardian is massively against this. They are saying that this is a body that is not subject to freedom of information requests, that there's not really much peer reviewing with what they do. I think it's quite concerning. Another thing I'd say is I do think that messing with nature needs to be done very, very, very carefully. I mean, for example, it takes nature a long time to adapt to changes in temperature. So if you release these particles in the air to block the sun and then decide it's not safe, we're going to stop it, and then suddenly there's a big drop in temperature, that could also cause a lot of problems in nature, biodiversity, etc. Yeah. There's so many things that could go wrong with this. I think we need to be very careful.
And also, it makes me laugh that Ed Miliband is running around getting solar panels everywhere and destroying the countryside, and yet at the same time we're funding projects to block the sun. So make your mind up. Adam Brooks?
Yeah, look, anything with Bill Gates, even connected to it, I do not trust. Even his wife didn't trust him in the end.
Oh, that's a cheap shot.
Who voted for this? What mandate have they got to start messing about with our climate and our weather? They haven't. As Bill said, there could be a small trial, but that could spiral and have consequences far beyond our understanding. We see during COVID that scientists get things completely wrong. The COVID modelers messed up so badly. What's to say that these people aren't going to mess up as well? In the United Arab Emirates, they cloud seed, and it's public knowledge that they do that. In the last few years, we've seen some of the worst flooding in Dubai, and of course they're going to deny, it's not what we're doing to the clouds, but it's a bit coincidental.
But they didn't deny cloud seeding. They just said the two weren't linked. They were cloud seeding 1 week quite heavily, and then the next week they had a record floods. I mean, they denied that, but they don't deny they actually do cloud seed. And it's interesting, Chloe, you said messing with nature, but we saw during COVID, Bill, that we do mess with nature. Anthony Fauci, gain-of-function research at the Wuhan lab, arguably the White House now says that's what caused the COVID pandemic, gain-of-function research, which is highly dangerous. So that we are already messing with nature, it seems.
Well, I don't believe a word that comes out of the Trump White House. You know, I mean, distorts things every day of the week. But look,
it's not just the US. Many intelligence agencies now.
Yeah, but look, you never make progress unless you experiment. We wouldn't have got to this stage of human development without science and without experimentation. You need to do it prudently and cautiously. And I've not seen anything here that suggests this is careering away and he's taking risks. And you talk about the two scientists who have opposed it. Those two scientists want to go much further and faster on the traditional methods of net zero, which is constantly being decried in this studio.
Yeah, this isn't an argument about net zero, whether, I mean, as I said, these two scientists I quoted, they are all for net zero. They don't contest climate change. They're just saying blocking the sun, which I think is just absolute insanity. You know, it's godlike behaviour from a bunch of weirdos, if you ask me.
And in this country, we desperately need more sunshine. I mean, we really struggle in the winter. I had to suspend from uni from vitamin D deficiency.
I know.
But I don't think the two are mutually exclusive. You know, if, and it is a big if this was successful, you'd still get a lot of sun coming into the country.
All right, viewers, let us know what you think. gbnews.com/your take. Should we block out the sun? Good idea? I don't know. Anyway, time now for the Great British Giveaway, our biggest prize to date. Here's all the details you need to win.
You could be spending your summer in style on the road in this brand new Alnag Baron 560 motorhome, courtesy of Marquis Leisure. Imagine the fun you could have in this luxurious home from home worth over £67,000. It sleeps 4, comes with integrated kitchen and bathroom spaces, and comfortably has space for all the family. And if that wasn't enough, we'll also give you £5,000 in tax-free cash to make your next getaway a great one. It's our biggest prize package ever, and it could be all yours. For another chance to win the lot, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB13 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 6th of June. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
All right, coming up next in tonight's show. Just ridiculous. As the relentless pro-Palestine brigade disrupts the London Marathon today, is it time for the British public to finally, if they haven't already, turn their backs on their cause? This is Ben Leo tonight, only on GB News.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, you didn't say that, though.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
The royal family is an enduring symbol of tradition, unity and pride for Britain. At GB News, we celebrate what makes this country great. In our new royal newsletter series, you can join me, Cameron Walker, for Inside the Palace, an exclusive look every week that takes you beyond the gates and brings you the very latest from those at the heart of the monarchy. Never miss a royal moment again. Sign up now. Go to gbnews.com/royal newsletter and get the latest straight to your inbox.
Westminster, the ultimate clique. And you're fighting like rats in a sack. But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask.
OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician.
Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off limits.
You had the power then.
Yeah,
and now you've lost it.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless.
But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show.
Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Headliners on GB News 11 p.m. every night. It's got 3 top comedians going through the next day's newspapers so you don't have to read them, which is great.
That's a good point. He's lying. Maybe he's not lying.
That's Headliners every night from 11 p.m. and 5 a.m. as well on GB News, Britain's news channel.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently. It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it? It's explosive. I mean, this is very good. It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial. And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born. It's everything you need to kickstart your evening. Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it. That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop stars to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. This is GB News, the People's Channel.
Hello, welcome back. Thousands of runners descended on London today for the marathon, many raising money for life-saving charities and running in memory of loved ones no longer with us. But 2 pro-Palestine protesters tried their best to ruin it.
The UK Labour government is complicit in enabling a genocide in Palestine. We continue to provide arms to Israel.
Goodness me, what a bunch of cretins. I said earlier at the top of the show, these people have trained for years for this day. They've trained well, they've eaten well for years, the discipline, the early mornings, looking after themselves, and these losers go and do that. But this happened as the elite men's race crossed Tower Bridge in central London, and the pair threw red powder paint into the air. Thankfully, they were swiftly tackled to the ground and arrested, but the big question tonight is it finally time for the British public to turn their backs on these pro-Palestine protesters, I guess, and the lobby once and for all? Well, we're joined now by political commentator Samuel Sweek and the chairman of the National Jewish Assembly, Gary Mond. Good evening to you both. Thank you for your company. I take it neither of you ran the marathon today?
No. Unfortunately not, no.
No, gave it a miss this year. We'll start with you, Gary. What did you make of the scenes today of this race being disrupted by these people?
Well, you say that it's time maybe that the British people should finally turn their back on the so-called pro-Palestinian cause. I think that with every month that passes, they are. We've seen such horrendous scenes at the pro-Palestine marches over the last 18 months or so that slowly but surely people who generally don't have an opinion either way are starting to turn against the so-called pro-Palestinian people who are essentially, fundamentally, for the most part, Jew haters. And I think the events today are just going to accelerate that trend.
Yeah, indeed. It reminds me, Samuel Sweek, of Just Stop Oil, how towards the end of their reign of havoc, they caused so much disruption and annoyance for people that it just put people off their core message, which was, apparently climate change. In the end, nobody cared because they just hated Just Stop Oil.
Well, no, I think I would disagree on that point. I don't think that people's support for a cause is predicated on how much disruption it causes to people's everyday lives. But let's be clear now. These are members of the public protesting against a genocide that is ongoing in Gaza, and our government's role in that.
So what gives them the right, even if it was a genocide, what gives them the right to disrupt these athletes, as I said, who've been training for years, they've been busting their guts, eating well for years on end, maybe even training since childhood for one of these big days? What gives these people, who arguably aren't, probably not even employed, the right to go and ruin their day like that?
Well, I don't know if we can say whether or not they're employed. I think that's.
Well, I'd take an educated punt and say they're not. It doesn't take two brain cells to work it out.
I think what we're ignoring there is the strength of people's feelings and the general populace on what's going on in Gaza. But what I would say is that peaceful protest, even if it is peaceful, it is disruptive by nature. And what we have to look at is the government and the police's role in continually suppressing people's right to free protest in this country.
The police's role, Samuel, did you say? The police?
The police, who obviously act
Samuel, the police allow pro-Palestine protesters up and down the country, and even the world, actually, it happened to me in Japan, to go and protest the streets of London week in, week out, holding all sorts of placards, chanting all sorts of nonsense, and telling Jews, Gary can speak on this, telling Jews who are trying to cross the road they're in the wrong place, and you want to have a pop at the police.
If I can just come in there, Ben, actually, as a Jew, I also can say that as somebody who has been on many of these marches, they are incredibly welcoming, and in more times than not, led by people in the Jewish community. Gary's viewpoint, whereas it may have, in pockets of the Jewish community, have some validity, is not widespread and it is not total of the British Jews' opinion. Of
Let's hear what Gary has to say. Gary?
I believe it is. With all due respect to you, Samuel, I do believe that the overwhelming majority of Jews would like these protests stopped. They feel that there's a heavy element of anti-Semitism involved. Because if there were really genuinely pro-Palestinian protests, why weren't we seeing protests when Bashar al-Assad, the former leader of Syria, and in Lebanon too, there were so many massacres of Palestinians over the last 10 to 15 years, and yet nothing. But the moment Israel's involved,
many people
it's
were
a different
protesting
story.
against the atrocities in Syria and Yemen, and I include myself in that, Gary, and I know a number of thousands of people who also were. But what we have now is a genocide before our eyes, enacted on social media. But well, okay, fine. If we're not genocide, then just the mass slaughter of Palestinian civilians and the general population of Gaza, then, if you want to split hairs about wording. For me, that's a genocide.
Can I just come in here then? Every single death, however regrettable it is, of every man, woman and child, death or injury of people in Gaza is the responsibility of Hamas. Hamas started a war on the 7th of October 2023. And when you start a war, these are the consequences. If Israel really did want to commit genocide, there wouldn't be anyone left alive in Gaza. No, it is simply the way that to bring this all to an end is to simply have Hamas releasing all of the 59 remaining hostages and surrendering.
And Samuel,
when that happens, there'll be no more war and no more deaths.
Just going back to the points in question, I don't really want to talk about the conflict itself. I don't see the points in targeting professional athletes at the London Marathon who have nothing to do with what's going on in the Middle East.
Well, no,
there is no point in targeting
if you look onto the
Samuel,
it's against the entire British tradition for politics to be mixed up with sport or other forms of culture.
Samuel, last word, Samuel.
I would say that with the mass clamping down on protests and our government's role and its ignorance to its role in the genocide in Gaza, then people are going to take more desperate measures. They are going to do things that are on television, and I support them in that.
OK, thank you very much to you both. I don't know how you can say there's a mass clampdown on protests when I just explained, and you were very aware, Samuel, that London is taken over week after week, and indeed, yesterday I reported on this show a leafy, quiet English village in Shenstone in the Midlands taken over by people literally being bussed in on a Palestine march yesterday. Literally, I showed you images of them last night, coaches full of protesters being bussed in, paid-for mobs. Anyway, thank you both for the discussion. Samuel Sweek and Chairman of the National Jewish Assembly, Gary Mond. Have a good evening. Right, coming up, a radical Islamist preacher has been allowed into the UK to conduct a nationwide tour spreading progressive, peaceful views like this.
You believe in that Islam that be chopping off hands? Yeah, I do. I think it's better than what you believe in.
Yes, I think we should chop off the hands. Why not? We've asked the Home Office why that person was allowed into the country in the first place for a nationwide tour of mosques. You'll hear about their response in 3 short minutes.
I hope it doesn't rain.
Don't worry about it.
It'll spoil our holiday.
Relax, we're totally covered.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
High pressure is in charge mainly across Europe at the moment, but its positioning is leading to some slightly different conditions. Out across Iberia, there's plentiful amounts of sunshine and a really lovely day to come tomorrow in particular. There are some showers, though, lingering around Italy, parts of the Balkans, just to watch out for. And there's quite a keen breeze developing from the Black Sea down through into the Aegean, so it is going to be quite fresh along some of those Greek islands. But with high pressure sticking around, it is going to be remaining fairly settled into next week.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
No matter the state it's in, this is our nation. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for a genuine, honest discussion on where we have been, where we are going, and where we are with the people who set the direction. That's State of the Nation every Monday and Tuesday at 8 o'clock, only on GB News, the People's Channel.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
Well, joining us now is the Chief Scout at the Scouting Association, Dwayne Fields. Dwayne, welcome to the programme. Thank you for joining us. You must be delighted at the partnership with the Princess of Wales, and the video is you were in that creation.
Yeah, so good morning, first of all. Yes, I'm absolutely delighted with it. The Princess of Wales has been one of our joint presidents for some time now, and hopefully that will continue. There's no reason to think it won't. And I am delighted. Her platform allows for her to really basically become a megaphone for all the great things we do in Scouting. And there's no denying it. Every single week, we've got 500,000 young people and adult volunteers meeting, and they are learning, building friendships, learning those really important skills for life, having fun, like I said, making friendships. And they're doing all of this voluntarily. And just like I am, so is the Princess of Wales. What you've mentioned there, you know, the being at one with nature, being at peace in nature, I think it's really important for young people to spend time outdoors. We recognize from all the reports, and you yourself have even spoken about it, mental health issues that we have in society nowadays. Now, this isn't the silver bullet, but I think it is part of the solution. The more young people we can get to spend time in our natural spaces, I think the better we'll be, generally speaking, when we're talking about well-being. Now, in regards to what young people do in our scout groups, it could range from cooking to map reading to model making. Whatever skills the volunteer brings are the skills that we utilize in our groups.
I just don't think I would suit the shorts at my age, but that's it. But there's Dwayne.
You look great in the necker.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Headliners on GB News 11 p.m. every night. It's got 3 top comedians going through the next day's newspapers so you don't have to read them, which is great.
That's a good point. He's lying. I mean, maybe he's not lying.
That's Headliners every night from 11 p.m. and 5 a.m. as well on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, though.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Ben Leo Tonight. Now we move on to our next story. A US-based Islamist hate preacher by the name of Sheikh Uthman Ibn Farouk says this about homosexuality.
Our great creator, through all the scriptures, whether it's the Old Testament, you can read Leviticus, or the New Testament, you can read Romans, or the Quran, you will find it forbidden, right? Because this is not the natural way that our creator designed us to be.
All right, and he says this about Sharia law.
You believe in that Islam that be chopping off hands? Yeah, I do. I think it's better than what you believe in.
And even claims it's Islamically acceptable to have sexual relations with your slaves and prisoners.
Allah made the spousal relations between a husband and wife halal. And Allah made that those people taken under war, not regularly under war, as captives who were trying to kill you, that now you're going to support and keep in your house and spend on and treat well, that this is like a wife. This is somebody who you can have those relationships with. So if Allah made it halal, that is not zina. That is not adultery, because Allah made it halal.
Oh, anyway, he's just wrapped up, get this, a 21-day tour, or date tour rather, all across the UK, spreading that kind of hateful and harmful rhetoric. Yet, at the same time, the Home Office banned anti-immigration French philosopher Renaud Camus from entering Britain, claiming his presence would go against the public good. Very good. We contacted the Home Office to ask about this apparent example of double standards or two-tier standards, but we were told, as usual, quote, "It is our long-standing policy not to comment on individual cases." Well, sorry, but is this not one of the clearest cases of sheer hypocrisy we've ever seen? Oh, let's get the thoughts of my panel now. Businessman and activist Adam Brooks, political commentator Chloe Dobbs, and the former Labour Minister Bill Rammell. Chloe, what do you make of this chap? Seems like a nice guy, doesn't he? He's been touring mosques all across the UK. I think he did 21 dates. and he was free to do so by the Home Office.
This guy should not be doing a tour around Britain. I'm quite concerned that he was able to fill up a 21-date tour. That tells you what level of extremism there is in the UK if there are that many people signing up to see him. This guy said that COVID was unleashed on the West as punishment for allowing homosexuality. He believes in the stoning of adulterers and homosexuals. He's preached hatred towards Jews. This is not a good guy at all. And the fact that look, I haven't read Raynard Camus's books on immigration. I don't know exactly what he says, but I highly, highly doubt that he is more of a danger to the public in the UK than this man is. So I think the Home Office have got big questions to answer, and their response to you guys was absolutely pathetic.
Yeah, Adam Brooks, I think this guy, I mean, he's called a sheikh. I don't know if he is a sheikh. He's probably a fake sheikh, I don't know. But he went to London, he went to Slough, he went to many places up north, Birmingham, Leicester, you know, all the,
well, look, Ben,
the traditional places.
We've got two-tier policing, two-tier justice, a two-tier government, and now two-tier rules on who can come into this country. They want everyone to watch Adolescence because apparently young white boys are the problem in this country. Yet we're allowing someone like that, to spread hate and division across the UK. How can that be right? Some of his views on homosexuality and women are abhorrent. You know, he promotes the segregation of men and women. How is that in line with modern society? How is that allowed to be told in mosques and across the country? Something is seriously wrong, and authorities are scared to stop people like him in case there's a backlash in certain communities.
Are the authorities scared, Bill Reynolds, do you think?
No, I don't think that's the case. I mean, look, I learned when I was in government and responsible for the Prevent programme that the only dividing line you can establish in terms of what's acceptable and not acceptable is violence or the advocacy of violence. Now, on that basis, my reading of this is that Camus doesn't cross that line. I think his views are deeply objectionable, but he doesn't cross that line.
This is the French philosopher.
Yeah.
So, just for viewers at home, briefly, he talks about, what, the Great Replacement Theory?
Yeah, so he says that, you know, there is a deliberate and systematic programme across Europe to replace the indigenous population with migrants. Now, I think many people may say governments aren't as effective as they should be, but the idea there's a deliberate and systematic programme is nonsense. But he's not advocating violence. So I think on the face of it, the Home Office has got that wrong. This guy, you know, and I don't agree that his views on women and homosexuals on their own are enough to ban him. It's when he talks about cutting people's hands off, and it's the advocacy of violence. And I think the fundamental problem here is there's too much secrecy. The Home Office needs to be open and transparent about its criteria for banning or not, and make that public.
OK. Well, what concerns me the most, actually, isn't the fact that this guy came here in the first place. It's the fact that he had 21 venues that were pretty much sold out. I mean, who the hell's going to see this guy speak? You know, and what are their intentions going forward? Who knows? OK, both, thank you panel rather, thank you very much, the three of you. Let us know what you think, gbnews.com/your say. We did ask that chap for a comment, by the way, but he, funnily enough, didn't get back to us. Wonder why. Coming up next on Ben Leo Tonight.
Britain... Yeah, it's Britain, they're lucky.
Britain's lucky?
Yeah, they are.
How did Britain survive before mass immigration?
What do you think the answer to that question is? How did Britain survive before mass migration? I'll show you what happened when I hit one of the country's most ethnically diverse high streets, asking if we need a minister for deportations, as per Nigel Farage. Back in just a tick.
Hello there, good evening. This is your GB News weather update provided by the Met Office. Don't worry if you missed out on the sunshine this weekend. As we head into next week, even more of us will be seeing some blue skies. It will take its while, though, for northern areas of the UK. We do still have this rain band in play for this evening and overnight. It's quite a damp and breezy period to come for, particularly northwestern Scotland. Dry nights elsewhere, underneath the clearest skies of England and Wales, there will be some patchy mist and fog developing, and we could see a very patchy grass frost as we kick off Monday morning. There will be some low cloud and fog just lingering around the channel as we head throughout Monday, so some of that may just drift its way towards southern coasts of England at times, but inland, once any of that early mist and fog has cleared, there'll be plentiful amounts of sunshine to be greeted with. Still a touch of cloud for Northern Ireland, Northern England first thing, but all eyes are on this area of rain that will continue its journey ever so slightly northwards as we do head throughout Monday. So Caithness, Sutherland, parts of the Outer Hebrides and over towards Orkney will still have some rain at times during the day. But we will start to see the skies brightening for Northern Ireland, particularly County Down, parts of northern England and southern and central Scotland as well. And then for the bulk of England and Wales, plentiful amounts of sunshine throughout the day, and it will be feeling rather warm out there. Highs between 20-24 degrees Celsius, well above our late April average. High pressure will be building in more widely as we head into the rest of next week, helping to push that weather front even further out of the way. So still a chance of a little bit of cloud and patchy rain for the likes of the Northern Isles during Tuesday, but really the vast majority of us are going to have a wonderful day out there. Plentiful amounts of sunshine, just a bit of a breeze around the far south coast here, but otherwise it certainly will be feeling again very warm, and temperatures will continue to climb in the sunshine that we do have. Mid to high 20s are very likely for many of us as we head towards the end of the week.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hello, welcome back to Ben Leo Tonight. Now, Reform UK leader Nigel Farage is calling for a brand new ministerial role dedicated to deportations. Mr Farage says it's time for a minister for deportations as illegal immigration, especially those crossing over the English Channel, shows no sign of slowing down. Don't we just know it? This comes as Reform's momentum keeps growing. One of the Tories' biggest donors has now defected to the party, pledging £1 million to help Nigel Farage, in his words, quote, bring this country back to its glory. Bassem Haider, who handed the Tories more than £700,000 under Rishi Sunak, says the Conservative Party has lost its way. Well, I popped out the office this weekend to see what people really think about Nigel Farage's suggestion of a minister for deportations.
One of the most ethnically diverse streets in not only London, but the entire UK. I just want to know what you think of Nigel Farage's suggestion that we need a minister for deportations.
I think people should get deported if they're going to come here illegally. Legally, it's good, but illegally, no.
Because they're coming over here and just like they're not working. They can't work or anything, and they're just taking all the benefits, which is not good. And then they're cutting all the other benefits for the other people.
If they contribute to the society, if they contribute to the business, UK businesses,
yeah, I think they should stay.
They should have a chance actually to get legal in a way that they could probably contribute better.
We just spoke to some Americans down there, some tourists, and they were saying that things are so tense in America right now because Trump is deporting everybody for the slightest thing. And my argument, or my point was, but aren't they being deported because, by definition, they're illegal? They broke into the country.
Yeah, because, yes, that's why he's deporting them, and maybe save people from, losing their jobs or not having jobs.
Do you think we should deport illegal migrants?
I order.
Oh, you work?
Order. Yeah, working.
You got an order?
Yeah.
Oh, do you speak English? No.
Yeah.
We're asking whether you think we should deport illegal migrants.
Sorry, I don't speak English.
Oh, you don't speak English?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Are you working?
Yes.
Oh, for Deliveroo?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Where are you from?
Algeria.
Algeria?
Yes.
Okay. Did you come to the UK recently? Is that your friend?
Yeah.
Where's he run off to?
I don't speak English.
You don't speak English? All right, man. Yeah. Do you think that illegal migrants should be allowed to stay in the UK and work, or should we deport them?
I think everyone, he can choose every place to work or to do everything, you know.
You think people should be allowed to go where they want? Freedom.
The freedom, yeah, man.
I'm not a fan of Nigel Farage, so whatever he has to say, I'm not really that
fussed about, to be honest.
So it's fair to say you think the UK should follow in America's footsteps and get tough on illegals?
Well, if they come here illegally, yes.
No English, sorry.
Oh, no English. Where are you from?
Iraq.
Iraq?
Yes.
Very cool. Is that a cigarette or
No, cigarette.
Or blunt?
Cigarette.
Cigarette?
Eh.
Oh, okay.
No hashish.
I've given up smoking.
Cigarette.
long time ago.
Yeah.
So how did Britain...
Yeah, it's Britain the lucky.
Britain's lucky?
Yeah, they are.
How did Britain survive before mass immigration?
See, the bus was here. It was
So
came
bus
half an hour.
drivers,
No,
Uber
it took
drivers.
half an hour to wait for the bus, and now every 1 minute, and the bus is full.
So immigrants have made the bus is more frequent.
They develop Britain as well. Now Britain is better than before.
What do you say to those people, those British people, English people who say there's too much immigration? There's too much. We can't get a doctor. We can't go child placed at school. Can't get a house.
No, the immigrants, they are doctors and they are a house and they are working in a council as well. I have 2 doctors.
All of them?
My kids, 2 doctors.
No, but all immigrants, doctors?
No, not immigrants. When they are developed as kids.
All right, there we go. Let's get the thoughts of my panel now. Adam, Chloe, Bill. Chloe, there was that truly was the most ethnic street in, I think, the UK. It's Edgware Road in London. So we spoke to, first guy was American, then we had the Algerian, then a Frenchman, then the last guy was Sudanese. We had, I think another guy was Somalian. There was a Brit as well, of course, the woman. So a true range of views there. Do we need a minister for deportations? And do you agree with the last chap who says that we should be lucky for all the migrants we've taken in?
I think that a minister for deportations is a good idea. I think the Home Office, has been long overdue some sort of breaking up. It is a department that deals with so many things that they just cannot cope, and it seems like they're all running around like headless chickens in there, which would, it gives you some idea as to why they've been so incompetent when it comes to immigration policy. So I think that's a good idea. That last guy, I think that he's right to say that Britain has, in some ways, become better because immigrants have contributed to this country and helped us in many ways. But I think we can all agree that we've got to a point now where immigration numbers are far too high and it's unsustainable, and the points that you raised about not being able to get a doctor's appointment at a house are completely valid.
Adam, would you like to say on the record now thank you for migration?
Absolutely. Not for migration. Well, obviously,
for migrants?
Over the years, this country has been helped to be built by some immigrants. That's unquestionable. But at the moment, there's estimates that we've got between 1.2 and 1.5 illegal immigrants in this country. We cannot cope. These people should not be here. We don't know their pasts. Migrant crime, I believe, is off the scale. A minister for deportation is a great idea because it's not just a few hours a week where a minister can dedicate their time to that. We need someone full-time. We need someone on the Home Office. I believe there's people in the Home Office that really don't want to deport these people and will do anything not to do the actions of what we want and what MPs want.
No, it's not true. I mean, look,
How can you say that's not true, Bill?
Well, but because I know from having been inside government that people bust a gut. It's not easy, and I think we need to end the nonsense of misleading people about how easy it is to reduce migration, but across the government, across the Home Office, there's a real determination to reduce the numbers. Nigel Farage's suggestion of a minister for deportation is a gimmick. We've already got an immigration minister, we've got a Home Secretary, we've got a Prime Minister.
But they do other things. This would dedicate their time.
But that's what the immigration. That's what the Minister of State for Immigration does. Now, yeah, I think there is an arguable case. We don't have a high enough profile politician in that role, and I hope the government addresses that. But as I understand it, Farage would create a separate department within the Home Office. One of the problems with the Home Office under successive governments is it's dysfunctional. You create a new department, I think you're going to make that dysfunctionality worse. What you need to do is real political will to keep on with the measures that are taking place, those that are coming in through the immigration bill that's going through the House at the moment. One of the most important measures is to put a 24-week deadline, mandatory deadline on appeal, because what's delaying some of the deportations at the moment is the way that lawyers can string the process out. But let's never forget, we've had a 30% increase in deportations under this government, an 8-year high.
Bill, you sound like a broken record. You say that week after week. They are.
But it's true. I say it because it's true.
It's true. But they are. I argue it's low-hanging fruit. I say it again. It's the Vietnamese nail bar workers doing your wife's nails, Adam. Not the people we're concerned about. Anyway, we're running out of time. Stay with us. The front pages are coming in just a tick. First, though, let's take a look at your weather. Back in a sec.
positive outlook through the night will power through to a bright day ahead. Boxed Home Battery Storage, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello there, good evening. This is your GB News weather update provided by the Met Office. Don't worry if you missed out on the sunshine this weekend. As we head into next week, even more of us will be seeing some blue skies. It will take its while, though, for northern areas of the UK. We do still have this rain band in play for this evening and overnight. It's quite a damp and breezy period to come for, particularly northwestern Scotland. Dry nights elsewhere, and underneath the clearest skies of England and Wales, there will be some patchy mist and fog developing, and we could see a very patchy grass frost as we kick off Monday morning. There will be some low cloud and fog just lingering around the channel as we head throughout Monday, so some of that may just drift its way towards southern coasts of England at times, but inland, once any of that early mist and fog has cleared, there'll be plentiful amounts of sunshine to be greeted with. Still a touch of cloud for Northern Ireland, Northern England first thing, but all eyes are on this area of rain that will continue its journey ever so slightly northwards as we do head throughout Monday. So Caithness, Sutherland, parts of the Outer Hebrides and over towards Orkney will still have some rain at times during the day, but we will start to see the skies brightening for Northern Ireland, particularly County Down, parts of Northern England and southern and central Scotland as well. And then for the bulk of England and Wales, plentiful amounts of sunshine throughout the day, and it will be feeling rather warm out there. Highs between 20-24 degrees Celsius, well above our late April average. High pressure will be building in more widely as we head into the rest of next week, helping to push that weather front even further out of the way. So still the chance of a little bit of cloud and patchy rain for the likes of the Northern Isles during Tuesday, but really the vast majority of us are going to have a wonderful day out there. Plentiful amounts of sunshine, just a bit of a breeze around the far south coast here, but otherwise it certainly will be feeling again very warm, and temperatures will continue to climb in the sunshine that we do have. Mid to high 20s are very likely for many of us as we head towards the end of the week.
A positive outlook through the night will power through to a bright day ahead. Boxed Home Battery Storage, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Courtesy of Marquis Leisure, you could be driving away with this brand new Elnag Baron 560 motorhome. It comfortably sleeps 4, comes with sky roof, integrated kitchen and bathroom, and is worth over £67,000. And that's not all, as we'll also give you a further £5,000 in tax-free cash to make sure that wherever this motorhome takes you, it takes you there in style. For another chance to win the lot, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB13 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 6th of June. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, though.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Westminster, the ultimate clique.
And you're fighting like rats in a sack.
But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask.
OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician.
Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off limits.
You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless.
But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show.
Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently.
It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it?
It's explosive.
I mean, this is very good.
It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial.
And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born.
It's everything you need to kickstart your evening.
Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it.
That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
It's 10 p.m. I'm Ben Leo, and breaking tonight in tomorrow's Daily Telegraph, a prison watchdog has proposed freed criminals who shoplift shouldn't go back to prison in an effort to ease the jail overcrowding crisis. Elsewhere, the Home Office announces new powers to root out fake lawyers giving advice to migrants attempting to claim asylum in Britain. Fraudulent firms and individuals posing as immigration advisors could now face fines of up to £15,000. We're going live to Canada for the latest on the horrific incident where a car ploughed into a crowd of festival goers too. And joining me on the panel this evening, businessman and activist Adam Brooks, political commentator Chloe Dobbs, and the former Labour Minister Bill Rammell. But first, let's get your news headlines with Sam Francis.
The top story this hour, Canada's Prime Minister says the shocking attack in Vancouver has left now 9 dead and confirmed more than 20 remain injured. Police are calling it a car ramming attack after an SUV tore through a packed Filipino street festival. Witnesses described seeing bodies scattered along the road as the driver sped straight into the crowd. The 30-year-old suspect, known to police, is now in custody, with no signs, they say, of a wider threat. Mark Carney says investigators are still working to understand how and why it happened. Meanwhile, here in Leeds, counter-terror police are investigating a dramatic armed attack after 2 women were injured with a crossbow and a firearm. It happened in broad daylight, and police say they found a 38-year-old man with self-inflicted wounds, arresting him at the scene. All 3 were taken to hospital with injuries not thought to be life-threatening. Both weapons were recovered, with officers now trying to find out what the motive was. Home Secretary Yvette Cooper called it a serious and violent incident. In other news, the government says there'll be no toilet police enforcing new gender rules, but that it will have to change practices after a landmark Supreme Court ruling. The court found that the word woman and sex in the Equality Act refer to biological definitions, meaning trans women can be excluded from women-only spaces. New guidance says toilets, changing rooms and sports clubs, among others, can be restricted by biological sex, but the transgender people must not be left without access. Counter-terrorism police are assessing videos of Northern Irish rap group Kneecap. That's after clips appeared to show the trio calling fans to kill their local MP and support banned terror groups Hamas and Hezbollah. The footage from gigs in 2023 and 24 is now being reviewed by the Met's counter-terrorism unit. It comes as the band was dropped by its US sponsor following Sharon Osbourne's call to revoke their American work visa. Kneecap's visas are now believed to be invalid ahead of their sold-out US tour in October. The band, though, claims they're victims of a smear campaign and have received death threats since Coachella. 1 in 3 people in the UK say money worries are keeping them awake at night. Nearly half of those surveyed are getting less than 6 hours sleep, and when tired, the spending starts. 1 in 5 admit to impulse buys when sleep deprived, with some checking their bank balance or credit score in the dead of night. Over 1 million Credit Karma users logged in between midnight and 6 a.m. in the past 6 months. They say when we're tired, it's easy to let spending slip, and are urging people to set limits and steer clear of late-night money apps. And 2 pro-Palestine protesters have been arrested today after red powder paint was thrown on Tower Bridge during the London Marathon. It happened as the men's elite race crossed the bridge around 10:30 this morning, with 2 demonstrators from Youth Demand calling on the UK to stop arming Israel. The pair, though, were quickly removed by staff and police. Race organisers say the event wasn't impacted. Well, Ethiopia's Tigst Sefa set a new women's world record to win the race, speeding through in 2 hours and 15 minutes and 50 seconds, while Kenya's Sebastian Sawe won the men's race on his London debut, crossing the line in 2 hours, 2 minutes and 27 seconds. And for the thousands tackling today's marathon, it was a scene of sunshine and highs of 22 degrees all the way along the course, and we're set to feel the heat right into the rest of this week. Forecasters are warning of a naturally warm spell. Temperatures could soar to 27 degrees by midweek, especially in London and East Anglia, peaking on Wednesday and Thursday. But a cold front is still creeping in, and forecasters say it could just clip temperatures before a full-blown heatwave takes hold. That's the news on GB News. Plenty more still to come right here. Don't go anywhere.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Welcome back to Ben Leo Tonight. Now, tragic news from Canada, isn't it? The city of Vancouver is reeling still tonight after a driver tore through a crowd of hundreds in what police are calling a senseless and heartbreaking act of violence. We can confirm 11 people are now confirmed dead, with police warning the death toll could still rise. Police do not believe this is an act of terrorism, but I'm going to get the latest now by Canadian journalist Mark Slapinski, live from Canada. Mark, good evening. Thank you for your company. First of all, my condolences to you, your countrymen and women, and indeed the nation as a whole for what's happened here. Just give us the latest, please, on what we know.
Yeah, so like you said, it was 11 people were murdered. And the person they believe has mental health issues. He's had previous run-ins with the police. They haven't specified whether they were criminal or just mental health. You said earlier, it was 11 people have been murdered. They expect the toll to rise. And it's one of the worst mass casualties, if not the worst mass casualty in Western Canada.
OK, and any idea on the sort of the identity of the perpetrator, Mark? The nationality, is he Canadian?
I'm not sure where he was born. He does appear to be South Asian. I have seen some videos. Whether he's Filipino or not, I'm not sure. But they actually haven't released his name yet. I think they're still doing the investigation, and they'll update later. OK, and just explain, please, Mark, what this gathering was. It was a national sort of celebration of Filipino heritage, was it? Yeah, it was. The actual name was the Lapu Lapu Festival, and it was Asian Filipino street block party.
OK, and there are, of course, elections in Canada at the moment. Is this possibly linked at all to that?
I don't think so. I think tensions are very high in Canada because of the election, and the country's split between the Liberal and the Conservative Party right now. As far as it being linked, I don't know. I don't think so, though.
OK, Mark, and just finally, what's the reaction been in the media there amongst your friends and family? What's the nation feeling like at the moment?
Well, they're obviously very shocked about this. Stuff like this doesn't happen very much up here. However, it's becoming more common. I put it out to my ex-followers, and what they're saying is a lot of people blame the lack of mental health support, especially from the Liberal government.
Interesting. OK, Mark Slapinski in Canada, thank you very much. Appreciate your company.
Thank you.
All right, let's go through some of the first newspapers from tomorrow. They have just dropped. We've got 3. Let's start with The Independent, shall we? Is it The Independent? Nope, it's the Metro. The Metro headline reads, deadly toll from ultra-processed foods. Apparently 18,000 people a year are dying early because they consume ultra-processed foods. Things such as bread, breakfast cereals and ice cream. Well, that's me stuffed. Scientists looked at data from 8 countries and found that in the UK, ultra-processed foods reached 53% of people's energy intake. Only the United States, at 55%, was higher. The Daily Express. Anger over the creeping betrayal of Brexit freedoms. As Rachel Reeves reveals plans for a youth mobility scheme with the EU, the Chancellor has been accused of tiptoeing her way back to complete freedom of movement for EU residents into Britain. And Liverpool there on the front page. Mo Salah, Liverpool, unfortunately, as an Arsenal fan, have won the league. But I think it was settled many, many weeks ago, Adam? And The Independent, voters are deserting Labour and Tories, says polling guru. Interesting headline here. So John Curtis tells The Independent that Nigel Farage is murdering the Tories and a historic shift in voting patterns affecting both main parties means Reform could win hundreds of seats in the local elections next week. And at the top there, a story that caught my eye, a little slither at the top. The Met Police won't be happy with my TV drama about the killing of Jean-Charles de Menezes. So this is a new TV drama, if you remember back home, viewers. The Brazilian chap, I think he was, who was gunned down by counter-terror police, or at least armed Met Police, shortly after the 7/7 bombings in London. It was a case of mistaken identity. It was a massive blunder, and this poor innocent guy, Jean-Charles de Menezes, was killed on a tube train, unfortunately. I remember watching a documentary about it. Was it on Netflix? Panel, welcome back. Adam Brooks, Chloe Dobbs, Bill Rammell. Bill, what do you remember about Jean-Charles de Menezes and the situation there?
It was a tragic case, and it was, you know, someone who was totally innocent who was killed by the police. But I've not seen any evidence that there was deliberate wrongdoing by the police, or that, you know, they acted irresponsibly. It was a tragedy, and, you know, for him, his family, his friends, it's an awful tragedy. But you know, I'm not sure, particularly this far after the event, what can be done, and how blame can be apportioned, because I don't think the evidence backs that up.
Were you in government at the time? Because it led to... there was protests in Brazil at the time. There was apologies from Tony Blair and Jack Straw.
I think I joined the government in 2002. I think it was before then, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. Yeah, it was 2005. 2000.
Oh, no, I was in government then.
You were in government?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's... I think there was a court case, Adam, but the policemen, the marksmen who were involved, they were eventually let off. I think they were just fined in the end, which I think was the right conclusion, because amongst other things, there was communications problems with their radios when they went into Stockwell tube station. What's your thoughts? What's your memories of it?
My memories, I mean, it was a long time ago, but I do remember the day. But again, around that time, the public and the authorities were on high alert everywhere we go. You know, we was worried about terrorism everywhere, and it's clearly a tragic mistake here. But I think we need to remember that we need our marksmen and we need our police and authorities to be on it. Even now, there's a bigger threat to society than there was back then, and every now and then there will be a mistake, and it sounds like there was numerous reasons why that happened. I mean, it doesn't take away the pain and the tragedy for that family, but just trying to understand why it happened, you know.
Chloe, what do you make of all the dramatisation of incidents like this? I think there was a Lucy Letby one in the pipeline as well, wasn't there?
I don't know what's going on with the Lucy Letby one, but I'll be very interested to see if this is just a telling of a tragic story, or if they try to spin this to say that the coppers, they acted wrongly and with some kind of malicious intention. I think you're probably right to describe it, Adam, as a tragic mistake. The sad reality is that in these kind of situations, police need to act extremely fast. They don't have time to think and be careful, and very sadly that means there are sometimes mistakes. The same goes for in war. There are always often casualties in war that shouldn't have died because of some kind of mistakes. That's what happens when you have to act under pressure, and I feel really sorry for the friends and family for what tragically happened, but I think we need to move on. But it'll be interesting to see what they make of it in this new show.
And Bill, I don't know if you remember, was it Cressida Dick who was the head honcho at the time?
No, I think she came after that. I can't remember who it was, but no, I think she was later.
Yeah. Do you know what? As I said, I watched a documentary. Was it on Netflix about the killing? And actually, it was with the coppers themselves. They gave an interview to this TV team, and they, even now, many years on, decades on, they were so distraught by it. You can see
they're living with it, and sometimes genuine mistakes are made, and you know, that's a tragedy, but you can't put it right.
Yeah, and do you know what? I was in the... I stumbled upon the 2017 London Bridge terror attack. I've mentioned a few times on this channel. I was with a young lady who had her throat cut by those Islamists, and I've never been so happy to see armed police rock up with guns in their shoulders, MP5, the stocks in their shoulders. You know, they were there within minutes, and they're heroes, and... although they made a mistake on that occasion in 2005 with Jean-Charles, I think we need to give them our full support at most times, because we'll be the first people begging for their help when things go wrong. Anyway, we move on. A breaking story in the papers tomorrow. Fake immigration lawyers offering rogue advice to migrants on how to lodge fraudulent asylum claims, and there are probably plenty of them, will be weeded out through tough new powers in the government's milestone border, security, asylum and immigration bill. Bill, have you heard about this?
Yeah, and I think it's wholly welcome. Even in my day when I was an MP and a minister, we all know there are a handful of dodgy solicitors' practices.
I think there's loads.
Who go out of their way to, you know, give misleading advice to enable illegal migrants to try and break through the system. And I think we need a crackdown, and I think it's very welcome that the government is trying to legislate to make that happen.
Adam, what's your thoughts? These dodgy fraudsters will be hit with £15,000 fines. That doesn't sound like a lot.
That's not enough. There's big business in this. They should be jailed, in my opinion. They are putting us at risk. We do not know who these people are or their backgrounds. Sound like a broken record. But someone comes from the Middle East, Africa or wherever, we do not know what they've done in their past. And if these people are helping them stay here, they're complicit in any crimes that these people commit.
Is this Labour trying to fight Farage then, in response to all the deportation stuff, Chloe?
I think absolutely. I think that Labour know that they are giving Nigel Farage the keys to number 10 if they don't crack down on migration, both legal and illegal. There was a commentator from the UAE on Camilla Tomney's show recently who was talking about how extremism is spread in the UK, and he was saying that what they do is you have groups of extremists who will offer help to vulnerable people who have just come across on boats to say, we'll help you get your asylum application approved, we'll give you the legal help and everything, and then they get them on their side and then they indoctrinate them. So that's another really worrying side to this.
Yeah, breaking in the Telegraph, actually. We'll get some more details in just a second. It's literally gone online in the last couple of minutes. Keir Starmer plans migrant cuts to fight reform. So the Prime Minister will unveil a crackdown on immigration after this week's local elections, where reform is expected to seize hundreds of seats. A white paper, Bill Remmel, revealing the government's plans to bring down legal migration is due to be released in the weeks following voting on May the 1st. It's expected to make it harder for foreign students who come to the UK on graduate visas to stay in the country through taking low-paid jobs such as healthcare roles.
Do you know what? I genuinely don't think this is trying to respond to reform. The last Labour government, I've said this before, dramatically reduced asylum numbers in this country. The problem we've got is because the Tories up to 1997 had let the numbers rip, and it took us several years to bring the numbers down. The problem is that this time the numbers had got even more out of control. And, you know, we had a net migration figure of 1 million people a year in this country. That's completely and utterly unsustainable. Well, and that's what the government's trying to tackle.
The Tories would say that was partly because of Ukraine, Hong Kong and so on.
Oh, come on. They had a buffoon as Prime Minister in Boris Johnson who wasn't interested in detail, and he let migration numbers rip. He campaigned in the Brexit referendum on reducing migration, and then they let it spiral out of control.
The one thing with Ukraine, and what a lot of people I speak to want to know, is as soon as there is a ceasefire and it is safe, every one of these people should go back, shouldn't they, Bill?
Yeah, and that's the terms under which they've come here. But I think we're a long way away from that situation.
So who should go back, Adam?
All the Ukrainians that come over on the deal, they should all go back.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean,
once there's a ceasefire,
the same argument is made with the Syrians who are here.
Exactly that.
You know, Assad has gone, the dictator has gone. Why aren't you going home?
Yeah, this isn't a thing about colour of skin. I want anyone that's come here, we've helped them, it's now safe to go home, they go home, whether they're white, black or brown.
Is that the case, Bill?
My understanding of the Ukrainian scheme is, yes, they should go back home. But, you know, one of your other stories here is about the betrayal of Brexit freedoms. You know, I'm still a massive Remainer, right? And before Brexit, we had East Europeans working in this country who worked hard, who contributed to the economy. We left the European Union, Boris Johnson let the numbers rip, and we've now got many, many people who do not contribute to the country in the way the East Europeans did.
Yeah, but do you know who the victim is in all this, Chloe? It's the British people who have voted time and time again to get control of our borders and clamp down on immigration. And the Tories and Labour and all the other people of any stripes and colours have let them down continually.
Well, I mean, a lot of people voted for Brexit because they wanted more control of our borders and they wanted to have an immigration system that was more tailored, where we could make sure the people that we are choosing to bring in are the ones who are going to contribute most to this country. Sadly, that hasn't happened, and the people in charge have just allowed, you know, anyone from everywhere to come in this country, and we've arguably made the situation worse post-Brexit, which I think that is, you know, talking about post-Brexit betrayal, I think that's been a big betrayal of what the Tories did.
I think they, the authorities, whoever it may be, I think they punished Britain and Brexit voters by daring to vote against the grain and voting to leave the EU, and they punished them by unleashing uncontrolled, as you've alluded to.
You think that's what Boris Johnson was deliberately doing?
I
mean, come on, Ben.
I don't know if Boris Johnson probably had good intentions, but he messed it up.
Of course he did.
He perpetrated net zero. He opened the borders to 1.2 million people, which research suggests will cost taxpayers something like £50 billion by 2028 alone. God knows how much for the years beyond that. You know, call me a conspiracy theorist, I don't care. I think it was deliberate punishment from whoever, I don't know who.
Boris Johnson shadowed me for 2 years when I was Higher Education Minister, and he's a funny guy, but he never should have been let anywhere near serious power in this country. He never does detail, and we're bearing the consequences of that.
OK, let me get your thoughts. We've already played this clip, but it's a new hour, so I'm going to play it again. On the incident at the London Marathon today with these pro-Palestine protesters. Have we got the clip? Can we take a quick look?
The UK Labour government is complicit in enabling a genocide in Palestine. We continue to provide arms to Israel.
I wanted to play that again, Chloe, because it really, I was about to say something else, but it really annoyed me seeing that. I mentioned in the first hour how these athletes have trained for years, they've watched their diet for years, probably been training since they were children. It's one of their big days in their competitive schedule. And those losers, I'll say it again, those losers who don't look like they're anywhere near the ability of these elite athletes, go and ruin it by doing juvenile stunts like that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm so glad to see that they were quickly moved out of the way so they didn't end up stopping the elite men that were trying to run through. Those elite guys, you know, every single second counts. They cannot afford to lose 1-2 seconds when they're trying to get a specific time because of some idiots who want to throw red paint. Look, it's a non-political event. These people, they're just athletes. They're just trying to achieve their goals. They don't deserve to have this happen. I thought after Just Stop Oil announced that they were going to stop protesting, I thought, fantastic, all the silly stunts have come to an end, but they're now just continuing in a different T-shirt.
Yeah. It's the same people, isn't it?
Sure, they've got to do something. They've got nothing else to do.
They're professionals, but if you played that again, the lady in the purple T-shirt does an absolutely brilliant job. She wrestles both of them away from the runners. Fantastic. Look, these are rich, middle and upper class.
Which one?
Look, the woman in purple. Watch the woman in the purple.
Oh, off the bike.
Hold on, watch. Hold on. Look.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Brilliant. But these are middle-class wallies that are doing this for attention and virtue points.
Adam and I agree on this, yeah. Certainly Just Stop Oil, the disproportionate number of them who were upper middle-class kids. And the bit that's missing from this is the judgment chip in their heads. Because every time something like this happens, they are totally alienating the vast majority of people from their cause. And I just don't get where they're coming from.
Massive, posh hypocrites, that's what they are, Bill.
They are moronic because, as you said, Bill, they don't understand that by doing stuff like this, they dilute their original message, which many people probably would have got on board with. Yeah. Anyway, time now for the Great British Giveaway, our biggest prize to date. Here's all the details you need to win.
You could be spending your summer in style, on the road in this brand new Elnag Baron 560 motorhome, courtesy of Marquis Leisure. Imagine the fun you could have in this luxurious home from home worth over £67,000. It sleeps 4, comes with integrated kitchen and bathroom spaces, and comfortably has space for all the family. And if that wasn't enough, we'll also give you £5,000 in tax-free cash to make your next getaway a great one. It's our biggest prize package ever, and it could be all yours. For another chance to win the lot, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB13 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 6th of June. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Good luck to you if you enter that. Coming up next, the editor-at-large of the Mail on Sunday, Charlotte Griffiths, will be live with us in the studio to go through the papers, including a very big story on the front page of The Sun tomorrow to do with one Prince Andrew off the back of the tragic suicide of his accuser, Virginia Giuffre. That's next. Don't go anywhere.
On Thursday, the 1st of May, voters across England go to the polls.
In a series of council elections.
Mayoral elections and one crucial by-election.
They'll vote on the local issues
that matter to them and let the parties know where they stand.
We'll be here throughout the night.
Live around the country.
As the first results come in.
And from 6 a.m. on Friday morning, as it all becomes clearer, we'll be here to discuss what it means for you.
Vote 2025, the people decide, from 11 p.m. on Thursday.
Only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
The great thing is that this is going to be the perfect summer to stay in the UK. A couple of reasons for that. The first one is, well, yeah, you can't do much about the weather, but what you can do is save an absolute fortune. I've been looking at, for instance, all the tourist attractions around Europe. The prices are going through the roof. You want to go and see some beautiful pictures in the Prado in Madrid, that's going to cost you over 30 quid. And yet, here in the UK, all our big cultural attractions are free. And furthermore, you will be doing the country a favour because the best thing you can possibly do is spend money here, create jobs, pay taxes and make things just a little bit better than they are now.
So, Joe, does that convince you to take a staycation this year?
Well, my staycation will be here in Tenerife, for sure. I want the guaranteed sunshine and I want the cleaner air. And the cheap places to eat. I mean, Simon was talking about the costs, but in Tenerife, you go into the mountains and the hillside areas, you can still get a 3-course meal for under 20 euros, very good quality. There's arguments, obviously, for both sides, but I think for most people, it's just that guaranteed dose of sunshine that people are looking for.
Yeah, I mean, it's very hard to get away from that, Simon, isn't it? That we do want the weather.
Yeah, but we just got to recalibrate, honestly. And tell you what, there's going to be an awful lot of people who are going to be travelling to Tenerife, other places, particularly around the Mediterranean, this coming Easter, because they've literally been scorched over the past couple of years in July and in particular August. Very, very high temperatures. Brits have had enough of too much sunshine.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Ben Leo Tonight. More newspapers have just dropped, including your favourite, The Guardian. Let's have a look at the headline. Revealed, landlords and hotels are cashing in on homelessness crisis. An investigation finds local councils are paying huge bills for temporary housing. Private landlords and hotel owners are charging councils far in excess of market rent to house people who would otherwise be ending up on the street. That's according to a Guardian probe. I mean, kind of goes without saying, doesn't it? Even tradies, contractors, if they know it's a council job, you just quadruple the price. The Sun newspaper, I'm not saying that's right, by the way, that's a fact of life. The Sun, big exclusive here, no way back for Andy. The Duke is silent on the death of Virginia Giuffre. A deluded comeback plan is now over. And I'm joined now by the editor-at-large of the Mail on Sunday, Charlotte Griffiths, including the panel, Adam Brooks, Chloe Dobbs, Bill Rammell. Hello, Charlotte, nice to see you. Been a few weeks.
I know, missed you all.
We keep missing each other like ships in the night.
Yes.
What is going on here with Prince Andrew? Did he have a comeback plan, and is it now torpedoed?
Well, he popped up, didn't he, at the Easter service, and Prince William was very notably absent because, of course, William will not be seen anywhere near his uncle because he knows that Andrew's the unsolvable problem, and his issues come up with alarming regularity, and it's just a problem that won't go away. And yet another chapter has happened here because, sadly, Virginia Giuffre has died by suicide. And, you know, the fact he even thought he could go to the Easter service, given he wasn't allowed to go to the Sandringham Christmas service, I found very surprising. And what happens is, every now and again, Andrew gets it into his head that he can find a way back, even though the signals are very, very clear that he can't. And in 2021, he planned a comeback, and that was just after the news. It was only about a year after the Newsnight interview. So he really, you know, the fullness of time has not taught him anything about his exile, really.
What do you think his reaction was on the news of Virginia Giuffre's suicide?
I think he would have been incredibly sombre for the obvious reason that it's tragic, but also because, and Richard Kay says this in the Mail today, if there was any chance, and I don't think there was anyway, of him being slightly separated from Virginia, the opposite has now happened for the rest of his life.
Forever.
He will be associated more closely than ever. I mean, there was a time when we thought, well, he's more closely with Yang Tembo than Virginia.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know, it's between a rock and a hard place.
The CCP alleged, was it
That's
an
the alleged spy.
Yeah.
So actually, I mean, not for a good reason, but the attention was off him and Virginia for a while. But anyway, now his life is going to be about Virginia Giuffre for the rest of his life. That's the thing that people will remember. This poor woman committed suicide because of her links to Jeffrey Epstein, and of course he was linked to Jeffrey Epstein too.
Do you know what? Andrew's the member of the royal family I've met the most during my time as a politician.
What's he like?
He's quite affable, but he is very arrogant and he displays extraordinarily poor judgment. My gut feel, I can't prove it, my gut feel is that in terms of this tragic woman, he's not guilty. Can't prove that.
Why did he pay her then?
He wanted the story to go away. The royal family wanted the story to go away. But the whole way that he's handled this successively has been a catalogue of errors of judgment.
Oh, come on, that interview was brilliant that he gave after.
Made good drama.
Well.
Not sweaty. Adam, what do you make of Bill's assessment there that he thinks... actually, we shouldn't talk about it too much, but... yeah, I mean, why would...
all I will say...
He denies everything.
I am no fan of Prince Andrew, and I would not trust him with a barge pole.
Yeah.
I have to say there was a little bit of contrition at the Easter service, because normally even all since this all happened, any time he's in public, he does engage with the public, with the people that have come to greet the royal family. But this time he didn't. He sloped into the church quite subtly and didn't try to make his presence known, which he usually does.
Just finally on the King, is this a new headache for King Charles? I mean, I guess he would have thought that once Andrew made that financial settlement, he would have thought it was over, and that's one problem sorted out. But as you said, it's now tragically reared its head again. And what would the King be thinking?
Well, the King is well aware and talks often, you know, and his aides talk often about the fact that he's the spectre that raises itself with alarming regularity. That's what they call it, the alarming regularity of the Prince Andrew problem. So Charles is probably not that surprised that there's going to be yet another ream of headlines about this. But one thing I would say is that he might want to consider keeping Andrew at arm's length, because during his total banishment, what happened was Charles would find out things, Virginia aside, find out things like to do with the Chinese spy through the headlines. So he might want to find a way to keep Andrew close and exile at the same time, which is a very difficult line to tread.
I mean, is he still... I know he's not technically squatting, but is he still squatting in Great Windsor Park?
He's squatting at Royal Lodge. Yeah. Nobody can quite work out how he has the kahunas, quite frankly, to insist on living there, given what he's been through.
Is that the arrogance that Bill talks of?
Yeah, exactly. Bill, you're so right about that, because this is the thing about him. I mean, even daring to go to the Easter summit, the Easter... service, knowing that William wouldn't even be there because he was there, knowing that he was the black sheep of the family, and the same about staying at Royal Lodge. He just doesn't think it. There's no self-awareness there. From
entitlement.
It is entitlement. He feels, honestly, that he belongs in Royal Lodge, a 30-room house. And, you know, it's true, he does pay a sort of peppercorn rent, but really he should fall on his sword and say, you know, I'll leave it to Prince William or somebody else who's more important than me and is a working member of the royal family, which he is not.
I think the reality is that anyone who does anything wrong, commits any sort of crime, they refuse to, you know, admit to themselves that they are some sort of bad person or have done anything wrong, and they want to keep their ego and they don't quite want to admit it, and it seems like that is the case here with Andrew. But he's causing so much chaos for the royal family by trying to make a comeback when any of us, just looking at the facts, can clearly see there's absolutely no way that is reasonably going to happen. So he just needs to live a quiet life and leave the royal family alone.
Oh, there we go. Good old Duke of York. Stick with us on Ben Leo tonight. There's a big story on the front page of the Daily Mail that's just dropped. So much for a bonfire of quangos. New figures show that at least 350 bosses are earning more than the Prime Minister. 1,500 in public bodies are taking home over 100 grand a year. All right for some. Back in just a sec.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
No,
Because the failure is...
You're
the failure
deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
I mean, it's an absolute first for science in the UK. Of course, it's not actually the first in the world. Actually, there have been 65 children born through womb transplants. But not only is this wonderful for the family concerned, and you know, what a sister, what an elder sister to donate her womb. But there's 15,000 women in the UK who suffer from this Mayer-Rokitansky-Kuster-Hauser syndrome, where they might have healthy ovaries, but unfortunately the womb doesn't work. Real ray of hope for them. The real hero here, I think, as well as the sister, is Professor Richard Smith from the Imperial NHS Trust. He spent 26 years developing this, started a charity, Womb Transplant UK. Wow. So this was all paid for through his charity. Doctors gave up their time for free. 17 hours of surgery, not for the faint-hearted, but lovely result.
And the baby is named after the sister, Amy, who donated her womb, and her middle name is Isabel, who's after the surgeon who essentially transplanted that womb. And to do that, you had to connect all of the tiny little blood vessels with minuscule stitches. I mean, it's incredible, isn't it?
It really is.
It is incredible. But, Anna, I put it to you, what would you say to people who would say, what is the point of this? Because you're not going to be able to provide this on the NHS. We can't afford to.
Well, as I said, that was one of my first thoughts, I have to say, when I was looking through this, and the fact that this professor has spent 26 years and actually started a charity. There are going to be a few more of these coming, but they're not going to be funded by the NHS. They are going to be funded by charity.
GB News, the People's Channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Ben Leo tonight, only on GB News. Some more front pages have just dropped. Let's look at the Daily Telegraph from tomorrow. The Prime Minister plans migrant cut to fight reform. We did just briefly touch on this. Apparently, according to the Telegraph, Sir Keir Starmer will tighten restrictions on immigration, that's legal migration, after this week's local elections where reform is expected to seize hundreds of seats. A white paper revealing the Labour government's plans for bringing down legal migration is expected to be released after the vote on May the 1st. Let's look at the Daily Mail. So much for a bonfire of the Quangos. New figures show at least 350 bosses earn more than the Prime Minister. 1,500 in public bodies take home over 100k a year. And Labour, as the Mail says, are under pressure to cut back the bloated state. Also, Charlotte, little picture there. Everything's rosy for Meghan's little redhead Lilibet. Oh. I think there was an audio clip played of Lilibet speaking about jam or something.
She's got a very American accent.
Oh, that's a shame. Well, maybe not, if you're American. The Eye, don't charge your phone in a Chinese electric car. UK defence firms warn staff. Britain's biggest defence companies advise staff not to connect their mobile phones to Chinese-built electric vehicles amid fears that sensitive national security data could be stolen by Beijing. Interesting, isn't it? Rachel Reeves cozying up to the CCP last week or this week, whenever it was. And the Times newspaper tomorrow, talking of Rachel Reeves, the Chancellor, she faces pay demands for teachers and nurses. Millions of public sector workers, including teachers and nurses, should be given pay rises as much as 4%, ministers have been told, in a move that will put further pressure on Rachel Reeves. The Times, Bill Rammell, has been told that the independent pay review body representing over 500,000 teachers has recommended a pay rise of close to 4%, while the same body for 1.38 million NHS workers has recommended closer to 3%. Well, this is interesting. They only just got a pay rise, didn't they?
Well, so the settlement when Labour came to power was 5.5%, which in a sense was playing catch-up for teachers and nurses. They had been relatively underpaid during the Tory years. We're now into the next pay round, which it happens on an annual basis. The government inputted to the review process an increase of 2.8%, around the level of inflation. It now looks like the pay review bodies have come back saying no, 3 or 4%. And I think that's going to be very challenging and difficult in terms of affordability. And the government now faces a judgment of whether it sticks to its guns and says it's just 2.8% or concedes more.
You can't blame the Tories for those billions, can you? I mean, the last pay rises went towards this
annual pay reviews take place every year.
22 billion that was fabricated and put out to the press. You know, I think, was it half of it was made up of these pay rises, and now they've got to find more billions?
It was 14 billion to, in public sector pay rises.
I think we're going to see a lot more pensioners freezing to death again next winter because of this.
Chloe, have you ever had a job in your life where you get a 3, 4, 5% pay rise every year?
No, I haven't.
What a life.
Remember having to battle in the pub to get more than about $5.50 an hour. Look, this isn't confirmed yet whether Rachel Reeves is going to accept this. This is what has been recommended, so let's hold our horses a bit. But I think that she may give in to the pressure, because at a time when she's absolutely desperate for growth in the economy, the last thing she needs is the whole country going on strike. You know, if one sector starts striking, then the others all get ideas and start as well. We don't need that chaos we had, when it seemed like, you know, the trains and everything were all just completely stopped and it was starting to really affect the economy. But if she does give in, this is going to be a heck of a lot of stress for her to try and figure out how to raise the money. She is not going to be very popular, I think it's fair to say, if she tries to do any more tax hikes.
Charlotte, it says here in the Times tomorrow, the Chancellor is already facing the prospect of having to raise taxes or cut spending, because last week official figures revealed that the government overspent by £15 billion, which was all splurged on public sector pay rises last year.
Well, I would say one thing is, this is nurses and teachers. I mean, of all the groups, I'm sort of happier for them to get a pay rise, especially teachers. Teachers are expected to actually bring up children now. I mean, they come in school, they can barely use the loo on their own. They can't brush their teeth. You know, these teachers are incredibly valuable, because, unfortunately, society's in a state now where children aren't being looked after properly at home. So... You know, I'd give it to them over the train drivers any day.
I see what you're saying, but this is above inflation, isn't it? At a time when we have no money in this country, why are we offering above inflation pay rises?
Well, we're not. This is a process. This is the pay review body.
No disrespect. Labour give in to the unions. The unions effectively run this country.
The pay review bodies have been in existence for donkey's years, and under successive governments, the government inputs a recommendation, the pay review body then makes a recommendation, the government decides then whether to accept it. And that's the process we're going through.
And then if they don't accept, the unions throw their toys out their pram, and then we have strikes, don't we?
Teachers can't strike. I think that's right, isn't it, Mel?
No, they can.
I think they can, but it says here, Charlotte, I mean, just on that point, it says other public sector workers such as police, prison officers and soldiers are likely now to be given higher settlements, bearing in mind the fact that they can't strike. So... Oh, dear me. It's like the floodgates open, don't they? You give a pay rise to one lot, and then everyone else wants one, and they want one every year. I mean, as I said to Chloe, I've never had a job in my life where you get a pay rise of 2, 3, 4, 5% every year, and I'm sure many of you at home haven't heard of such absurdity either.
And such great pensions as well, Ben.
Right, we move on, because Bill Rammell, when you're not gracing us with your presence on this panel, your day job is as chief exec of is it Contested Histories charity?
No, Parallel Histories, which is an educational charity.
On so-called contested histories. Yeah. So what is contested histories, just briefly?
So contested histories are things like Israel-Palestine, Northern Ireland, the British Empire, 20, 30 different topics. We resource schools in the teaching of contested and conflicted history. It's fantastic for developing kids' critical thinking, their oracy skills, their confidence, but it also develops them as civic and political citizens. And we commissioned YouGov to ask some questions on our behalf, and I have to say I was gratified but amazed by the results. 74% of people against 9% who disagree, believe that children should be debating contested history in the classroom. And I think that's something that should be taken on board by the government in the curriculum review that's upcoming.
So does that mean, for example, I was brought up being taught and learning that, for example, Winston Churchill was a national hero. There's statues of him.
And he is,
and he is, of course. But there is now this narrative recently, especially from the left, that he was some sort of genocidal maniac racist. Is that contested history?
It is contested history. And look, you know, on most historical events or individuals, there's two sides to the story. I'm personally an admirer of Churchill, but there is a critique against him. And what you do is you get school students to immerse themselves in both sides of the argument, looking at the source historical documents, and then critically forming their own view. And I tell you what, I've seen this most particularly in the debates we organise about Israel-Palestine, where the kids do it, they debate from one side, they then debate from the other side. That's part of the process. And you see this light bulb moment where they go, it's a bit more complicated than I thought it was. And I think that's actually a healthy thing for young people.
And you
to be
trust,
done.
no disrespect, and you trust left-wing teachers not to push one side. I'd be amazed.
Absolutely. Look. We are deliberately non-biased. We test out the resources on both sides of the argument by advocates from each camp. So we're getting it right, and we're laying out both sides of the perspective.
So they go into schools today, these experts or
so we produce e-books, we do CPD for teachers, and we organise school debates. And there's not been one complaint against the work of the charity in 8 years, because what it gives the ability of teachers to do is to discuss and teach these subjects and organise debates where they're not open to criticism. And when you bear in mind that, you know, there are still some teachers in hiding because they've taught controversial historical topics, I think you need this kind of process to enable young people to engage with the issue.
Charlotte, you've got Sprogs, haven't you? Would you want your kiddos learning about contested history? I mean, does it not risk muddying the waters, do you think?
No, first of all, I can't believe Churchill's a contested history, to be honest. I was quite surprised to see him on your list. But second of all, I thought it was a given that education is about two sides of the argument and debating, and it's tragic what's happened to universities. You've got to do this for universities, Bill, because, you know, as we all know, you're not allowed to have two opinions at university anymore, only one opinion, and you'll be chucked out of the union if you dare debate the other side. But really, children should be learning at school critical thinking. That is what education is, isn't it?
And I agree with you about higher education. I often say the work we do is the antidote to cancel culture. And too often in higher education, and particularly amongst young people, there is a view, I can't be confronted with things I disagree with. Education is about looking at things you don't agree with as well as those things you do.
Absolutely agree.
And what I love is when I'm able to use something that I've learned at school or at university in the conversations that I have in my everyday life, not something I've just written in an exam and then forgotten about. So, and it's the contested histories that you get into debates with people more in everyday life. And it would be great if people were armed with the knowledge to have a meaningful discussion rather than, oh, I read on Twitter somewhere that Winston Churchill was an evil racist, so I'll just go with that. Right? They need to read into it properly.
I personally do not trust some teachers not to twist the narrative on things like Churchill.
Yeah,
with this.
Indeed. Bill, where can people find out more from your charity?
Go on our website.
What's it called?
Parallel Histories.
Parallel Histories. Great stuff. OK, more after the break. Stick with us. Back in just a tick.
I forecast a perfect holiday in the sun.
Weather looking good then?
For sure, and no worries about our travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
High pressure is in charge mainly across Europe at the moment, but its positioning is leading to some slightly different conditions. Out across Iberia, there's plentiful amounts of sunshine and a really lovely day to come tomorrow in particular. There are some showers, though, lingering around Italy, parts of the Balkans, just to watch out for. And there's quite a keen breeze developing from the Black Sea down through into the Aegean, so it is going to be quite fresh along some of those Greek islands. But with high pressure sticking around, it is going to be remaining fairly settled into next week.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
Hello there, good evening. This is your GB News weather update provided by the Met Office. Don't worry if you missed out on the sunshine this weekend. As we head into next week, even more of us will be seeing some blue skies. It will take its while, though, for northern areas of the UK. We do still have this rain band in play for this evening and overnight. It's quite a damp and breezy period to come for, particularly northwestern Scotland. Dry nights elsewhere, and underneath the clearest skies of England and Wales, there will be some patchy mist and fog developing, and we could see a very patchy grass frost as we kick off Monday morning. There will be some low cloud and fog just lingering around the channel as we head throughout Monday, so some of that may just drift its way towards southern coasts of England at times, but inland, once any of that early mist and fog has cleared, there'll be plentiful amounts of sunshine to be greeted with. Still a touch of cloud for Northern Ireland, Northern England first thing, but all eyes are on this area of rain that will continue its journey ever so slightly northwards as we do head throughout Monday. So Caithness, Sutherland, parts of the Outer Hebrides and over towards Orkney will still have some rain at times during the day, but we will start to see the skies brightening for Northern Ireland, particularly County Down, parts of Northern England and southern and central Scotland as well. And then for the bulk of England and Wales, plentiful amounts of sunshine throughout the day, and it will be feeling rather warm out there. Highs between 20-24 degrees Celsius, well above our late April average. High pressure will be building in more widely as we head into the rest of next week, helping to push that weather front even further out of the way. So still the chance of a little bit of cloud and patchy rain for the likes of the Northern Isles during Tuesday, but really the vast majority of us are going to have a wonderful day out there. Plentiful amounts of sunshine, just a bit of a breeze around the far south coast here, but otherwise it certainly will be feeling again very warm, and temperatures will continue to climb in the sunshine that we do have. Mid to high 20s are very likely for many of us as we head towards the end of the week.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, though.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Headliners on GB News 11 p.m. every night. It's got 3 top comedians going through the next day's newspapers so you don't have to read them, which is great.
That's a good point.
He's lying. I mean, maybe he's not lying.
That's Headliners every night from 11 p.m. and 5 a.m. as well on GB News, Britain's news channel.
No matter the state it's in, this is our nation. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for a genuine, honest discussion on where we have been, where we are going, and where we are with the people who set the direction. That's State of the Nation every Monday and Tuesday at 8 o'clock. Only on GB News, the People's Channel.
Welcome back to Ben Leo tonight. Now, we're very short of time, but I've got 2 clips I want to show you. First of all, this one. If you've had a wedding recently, I got married a few years ago, you know the bands are always pretty top draw. But is this band and the singer here being a little bit oversensitive? Take a look.
Can we just stop a second, please? Can you please not jump onto the stage, please? Can you please not talk to me during the middle of the song and stop me from playing what I'm doing, please? It's very, very upsetting. It's very dangerous up here. There's lots of chaos and things. We're going to take it away again from the beginning. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Oh no, that poor woman. Charlotte, is he being oversensitive, that singer?
No, I'm on his side. There's a man that's been accosted by a drunken reveller, shall we say, one too many times, and he's had enough of drunk women trying to snog him.
As a politician, you always learn the public is always right. That's his audience. They're right.
I don't know, it's not Glastonbury, mate.
Could have been more friendly, in my opinion.
Imagine how many women have crashed his gig over the years.
OK, one more clip, one that touched my heart a bit earlier today. It's the father of one of the Southport babies who was brutally murdered by that absolute scumbag. He completed the London Marathon today. Take a look at this.
A little bit earlier, we saw David Stankham cross the finish line, the father of Elsie Stankham, one of the 3 girls who went to a Taylor Swift-inspired dance class last summer in Southport and never came home. And today he was running in his daughter's memory and also to raise money for a charity they have set up in her name. What an incredible achievement.
Oh, so that was the father of little Elsie Stankham, David Stankham, who, of course, lost his daughter in Southport. I just thought that was beautiful. What courage as a father. I've said many times before, Adam, you're a dad, of course. Yeah. If that happened to me, I'm not sure... I don't know how I'd deal with it. I'm not sure I'd be around. But to take to the streets of London, to face the public, to run in the memory of your beautiful daughter that you lost, I thought it took such courage and bravery.
Yeah, hats off to him. I couldn't ever imagine that. It would be my worst nightmare. And again, I don't think I would want to be around if I lost one of my kids.
And one of the fathers there, he said that this time last year he was watching the London Marathon on the telly with his daughter, who is sadly not with us anymore, and she was saying, "Daddy, you've got to do that race," and so he was desperate to do it in her memory. Bless him.
I mean, that almost brings me to tears, actually. Yeah. The father of Alice Aguirre, Sergio, also ran as well today, so well done to you both. And, yeah, great stuff. Just courageous, completely courageous. Thank you, panel. Leo Kirst. It's Leo Kirst. Yeah, he's on standby with headliners. Leo, what's on your show tonight?
It is me. It's also Simon Evans and Stephen Allen. We've got lots of stories, all the front pages. We've got Prince Andrew, the impact of him, of the tragic suicide of Virginia Giuffre. Also, a top Tory donor has switched over to Reform. I mean, Kemi would have wasted that money anyway. But that's what happens when you put up tax. The Tories need to learn that.
Great stuff. Look forward to it. Thank you very much, Adam Brooks, Chloe Dobbs, Charlotte Griffiths and Bill Remmel. Thank you for your company, and thank you, of course, the lovely viewers at home. I've really appreciated your company all weekend. I'm back next week. I'm covering Patrick on Wednesday and Thursday, so I'll see you there. Headline is next. Now, your weather. Good night.
Even though we'll see a cloudy start, it'll be a bright outlook for the rest of the day. Boxed Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello there, good evening. This is your GB News weather update provided by the Met Office. Don't worry if you missed out on the sunshine this weekend. As we head into next week, even more of us will be seeing some blue skies. It will take its while, though, for northern areas of the UK. We do still have this rain band in play for this evening and overnight. It's quite a damp and breezy period to come for, particularly northwestern Scotland. Dry nights elsewhere, and underneath the clearest skies of England and Wales, there will be some patchy mist and fog developing, and we could see a very patchy grass frost as we kick off Monday morning. There will be some low cloud and fog just lingering around the channel as we head throughout Monday, so some of that may just drift its way towards southern coasts of England at times, but inland, once any of that early mist and fog has cleared, there'll be plentiful amounts of sunshine to be greeted with. Still a touch of cloud for Northern Ireland, Northern England first thing, but all eyes are on this area of rain that will continue its journey ever so slightly northwards as we do head throughout Monday. So Caithness, Sutherland, parts of the Outer Hebrides and over towards Orkney will still have some rain at times during the day, but we will start to see the skies brightening for Northern Ireland, particularly County Down, parts of Northern England and southern and central Scotland as well. And then for the bulk of England and Wales, plentiful amounts of sunshine throughout the day, and it will be feeling rather warm out there. Highs between 20-24 degrees Celsius, well above our late April average. High pressure will be building in more widely as we head into the rest of next week, helping to push that weather front even further out of the way. So still the chance of a little bit of cloud and patchy rain for the likes of the Northern Isles during Tuesday, but really the vast majority of us are going to have a wonderful day out there. Plentiful amounts of sunshine, just a bit of a breeze around the far south coast here, but otherwise it certainly will be feeling again very warm, and temperatures will continue to climb in the sunshine that we do have. Mid to high 20s are very likely for many of us as we head towards the end of the week.
Even though we'll see a cloudy start, it'll be a bright outlook for the rest of the day. Boxed Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Courtesy of Marquis Leisure, you could be driving away with this brand new Elnag Baron 560 motorhome. It comfortably sleeps 4, comes with sky roof, integrated kitchen and bathroom, and is worth over £67,000. And that's not all, as we'll also give you a further £5,000 in tax-free cash to make sure that wherever this motorhome takes you, it takes you there in style. For another chance to win the lot, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB13 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9